Okay, Math 114 online students, we pretty much wrapped up our second week. I hope you have read most of the material in the summary up above and all the little details, but I thought I'd also accompany that with you hearing my voice. Not that you guys are probably tired of hearing my voice on videos, but I thought I would just also break some things down. When I'm teaching a face-to-face class, I always like to give summaries, what I call the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'll do that with you guys here online. As far as our class is concerned, the good, I really love the effort. I think you guys are doing really well. For the most part, deadlines are being met. I can see you guys trying to turn things in early and stuff like that. So I appreciate that. Keep that up. Um, Quizzes, I can also tell that you guys are trying to do these on your own. I am seeing a lot of mistakes, and that's actually okay. The point value on the quizzes is very low, so you can afford to make a mistake or two, and that's fine. That's what they're designed to be. There's supposed to be a little bit of practice and making sure you understood what's in there. But please make sure you're going back and reading your feedback that I give to you, because just because you scored a 3 on a quiz doesn't mean everything is right. So always check my feedback, make sure that if your perfection was truly perfection. And if not, then I'll give you some feedback and you know what to correct as you look at the answer key or just flat out read my feedback with what you've done. All right. So overall, good, great effort. I like the fact that you guys are trying things on your own. Related to that, the bad, right? So that's the good, the bad. Um, Again, right what I just said, I think some of you are not reading that feedback because what I'm seeing is a lot of the same mistakes, particularly as it comes to fractions. As you guys are watching my video lessons, I am showing my fraction work. I'm showing you how to build an equivalent fraction when we're adding or subtracting them. I'm showing you how to eliminate them, get rid of them, or clear them when we're solving a linear equation, right? So all that work needs to be shown, right? If I'm doing it, so do you. And unfortunately, a lot of you are kind of getting nickeled and dimed, if you would, because you're not doing it and it's consistent. And so that means, in terms of the bad, I'm not really sure if you're reading my feedback, because if you're reading my feedback, you would hear that and you'd start correcting it. All right. So make sure you are doing that. With related to fractions, another area that I think we need to grow in is converting fractions to decimals. I know that's a pretty common thing that we do out there, but it's actually an grievous mistake because when we convert it to a decimal, what we start to do is introduce error. When we do work in a decimal, especially if there's a lack of context, we don't really know what we're looking at. For example, when I say 1.2, right, as my answer, because of rounding, the answer could actually have been 1.218 or 1.235 or maybe even 1.195. All those numbers actually round, right, especially to the nearest tenth, to 1.2. So it's a little vague when you give a decimal answer about, was there any rounding that was done to this? If so, how much rounding? Who decided to round to the second decimal, etc. And then in the case of decimals that go on forever, like let's say 5/3 in the homework, that does it's 1.6 repeatedly. But when you write it as 1.6, you've truncated error and you didn't round correctly. And even if you write it as 1.67, you rounded correctly, but this is something that goes on forever. And so you've lost some of the accuracy of the number. So decimals, all right, are actually pretty bad. There's some context where they're needed, like when we're talking about money. And when I talk about 1.20, I'm probably talking about $1.20, but that has context behind it with regard to cents. In general, most decimals do not. So keep things in fractional mode. Make sure all fractions are simplified. And if I may wrap up this part, fractions is a area of weakness for our class, and we need to improve on that area. So that's another reason why I'm going to force you, if you would, to continue to work in fractions, keep working with fractions, learn, make sure you understand how to multiply them, divide them, add them, subtract them, clear them, whatever the case might be, because that'll make you a better math student all around. So please keep things in fractions. In terms of the ugly in this class, Again, I would probably, if I had to put anything ugly on the class, I would say it's the lack of discussion on this discussion boards. I've had a couple of students who have chimed in. They've asked some really good questions. And so I would ask you go back and look at some of those, read their question, read my feedback. And I hope you start seeing that there is a lot of help available via that medium. Especially also if you find a mistake in my videos, it's a great place to go embarrass me and tell me that I made a mistake. All right. On that note, with regard to ugly, yes, you guys are catching some mistakes. I'm saying solve for W and then the video show solve for L. The default mode there is to just go with the notes, right? It's probably easier for you to edit your notes and rather, I know I said solve for W maybe in the notes, but then on the videos I'm solving for L. Just, to replace the W with the L and go on and move forward. That's probably a lot easier to do. So that's ugly on my part. I'm continuing to work with the editing, and you guys are actually helping me out. So please make sure you're doing that as well. So go to the discussion board, tell me what you think is a mistake, right? On those, we'll talk about it, or just start addressing your questions, right? If you don't understand my feedback, whatever the case might be. So there's the good and the bad, the ugly. The effort's great, right? Let's get the, bad, our fraction work needs to be worked. And then the ugly is let's do a little more action on the discussion board so there's more learning. A couple more items before I let you go. Number one, next week, upcoming from January, excuse me, not January, from June 14th through the 17th, I'm actually going to be out of town. I think I've been very good at checking your notes and your quizzes almost every other, about 2 or 3 hours, I'm checking them from home. But because I'm going to be out of town and away from technology, my frequency of checking things is going to be somewhat limited. Rather than, checking things like 6 or 7 times a day, I'm probably going to be down to one or two. So I usually check things in the morning very early. So again, that might be to your advantage to work ahead for that week, get all your notes in order at least, and then you can do your quizzes later. Because I'll probably be through June 14th through 17th. I might be just checking things once early in the morning. So either get your notes right, get your perfect fives before anything else happens, and move from there. So please be aware, June 14th to 17th, I'm going to have some limited availability. And so that might impact the frequency. It will impact the frequency that I do grading. And then last but not least, the midterm is coming. It's for the week of June 19th through let me make sure I got the dates here, 22nd. You'll be coming on campus at GCC Maine to take it. I will be sending out an email with all the information you need, focusing exclusively on the midterm. So be on the lookout for that as well. All right. So thank you for your time again. Thank you for your effort. Make sure you read the summary. Make sure you understand what I said here. Enjoy your weekend. And I encourage you to work ahead, even though there's no modules due, start getting yourself ahead. All right. Carry on.